Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Magic with Zuby. My name is Zuby, and if you're brand new to this show is all about a little well-known card game called Magic the Gathering. Well, today we brought on a special guest, none other than Mr. Bevers of the Mr. Bevers YouTube channel, who is very well known for cracking packs on his channel, and we brought him on to discuss cracking pack channels on YouTube, as well as Magic the Gathering, content creation as a whole, and much more. So before we begin, let's get a few announcements out of the way. Magic Zuby can be found on the following: on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio, and Spotify now. And you can reach me on Twitter at Magic with Zuby, on Instagram at magic_with_Zuby. And you can email me with any questions you may have at mtgzuby@gmail.com. And if you want to help support the show, you can check out the show's Patreon at patreon.com/magicwithzuby. And if you want to help support my sponsor as well, we are sponsored by legitmtg.com. LegitMTG is the place to buy your Magic singles and sealed product out there. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Bevers. All right, so Zuby here, and I am with the awesome Mr. Bevers of the YouTube channel, Mr. Bevers. Yeah, that's just what it's called, right? Just Mr. Bevers.
That's right, yeah.
There you go. So how are you doing this morning in lovely Ontario?
I mean, I'm tired, but other than that, I'm doing fairly well. How about yourself? You're saying it's cold in Florida, but I mean, it's probably a lot warmer there than it is here, right?
Well, yeah, I think this is going to be Florida's last cold snap of the year because... what was it? Yesterday, it was pretty cold, and by cold, I mean in the 40s or 50s. But the day before that, it was in the 90s, like humid as hell. And then it's, you know, we like to joke that Florida is bipolar a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because it could be, especially during the winter, it could be so hot one day, then freezing the next.
Well, our winter's been the same here, where we are, like, up near Toronto, right? We've had... I mean, and of course, I don't know in Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, like, 0 degrees is freezing, right? So, like, we've had a lot of days that were under zero, but then we've had, multiple days where it was like, 10 degrees or more, right, for the winter. And so, it's like a spring day or a fall day, right? It's very strange.
Oh, man. So you do a lot of pack opening channels or videos here on Magic or on YouTube. What kind of got you started doing that?
So it's a little bit of everything, right? I saw a lot of it online, of course. I was watching it myself.
Yeah.
But I started collecting probably back in, I don't even want to, like Mercadian Masks.
Ooh, okay.
Right? So I was opening like a box or two maybe of each of those sets. And when BFZ was announced and the lottery cards, that hooked me. It hooked me hard.
Yeah.
Right? It hooked me hard, and I went, okay, I'll buy a case, because why not, right? Like, you're supposed to get one per case, so I'll get a case and see what happens. And I opened the case with my buddies on their dining room table, and we just ripped through it, right? Like, just tore through the box as fast as we could. And I ended up with two of the expedition lands from the case.
Do you remember which ones?
I don't remember which ones. I think one was like I want to say the filter. One was the filter land, the flooded grove.
Okay.
And the other one was, I think, a fetch, a windswept heath, maybe.
Oh,
something
nice.
like that. Something like that. I can't remember exactly. I have them all still, but which one it is that I opened first, I don't remember, to be honest. But so that hooked me even harder because I got two out of that one box, right? Or one case. And so then I was like, you know what? Why am I not filming this and putting it out there for other people to enjoy? I mean, like, I've been enjoying people opening packs forever. Why shouldn't I be doing the same if I'm going to be opening this much product? And that was like 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. So at that point, there still wasn't like a plethora of channels out there opening packs.
Yeah.
Right? I think back then you had like Booster Tutor, Open Boosters, and the aforementioned person that we no longer talk about, right?
Oh, yeah, Voldemort.
Okay. Yeah, right? So...
I forgot that he did a lot of that stuff, too.
Yeah. So basically, those were like the three channels that at the time I was watching, just for the pack cracking, right? Nothing else. And then I was like, well, I might as well start. And then like I started up and started. I think my first video ever that I put on YouTube was a box of Modern Masters 2013.
Ooh, nice.
That I had picked up, and I got it for pretty cheap compared to what today's prices are.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But it was amazing, and its views. I don't even know what happened to it, but it's like over. It got over like 3,000 views, and it was my first video, and I was like, oh, I guess people actually want to see this kind of stuff. I guess I'll continue, and that video kept getting more. I think it's one of my most viewed videos still to this day, and it's my first video, and so like it's a shitty camera and like just the worst. I'm sorry. Am I allowed to swear on this show? I didn't.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Just making sure. I don't want to like overstep things here.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
It was just like hilarious to me. Like I guess I gotta keep doing this, and so I kept doing it. I mean, and then I started getting into the more collecting and all that kind of stuff. Like I have boxes and boxes and boxes of bulk, and I don't get rid of any of it. I keep it all.
You don't get rid of? Whoa. Okay, you're brave. Because I used to be similar, and was it just last year I've started the slow purge of getting rid of all my paper. I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm keeping my EDH. I'm keeping decks and my cube and all that. But for the majority of it that I know, is you're probably just like me. I'll open up cards and be like, yeah, I'll build a deck out of this one day.
I mean, that's essentially it. Yeah. I mean, one of the other things that I do is, and what I started about a year and a half ago was I actually started up my own shop online.
Oh, nice.
And I think that's the other thing. Like, I mean, I don't want to promote my Patreon or anything like that, but like I try to give the cards back to the community, right? Is one of the things that I prefer. And so like with the bulk and stuff, the reason I've kept it is more, I'm just trying to find a good way to get rid of it, right? Without just selling it to the people who do repacks on eBay, because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So like that's sort of like where I'm at. Like I keep it all because I'm like, I want to like donate it or get it to people who are actually going to use it for something. And I don't really want to. If there was a place that was like, oh, we'll buy your bulk from you for this, and we're going to use it for like in the LGS to get new players in the door and let them play with them for free, I would be like all on board for that, right? Even if they didn't want to give me any money for it, if they were just like, we're just going to take it from you, but we're not going to sell it, we're just going to give it to new players, I'd be like, let's do this, right? And so I've actually been like donating cards here and there to the folks on Twitter, right, that come up and are like, hey, we're doing a thing with like after school projects and stuff. I've been trying to donate cards to all of those things whenever I can.
Nice.
To basically, make sure that they're going to the right places, right? And it's just, that's basically where I'm at. So like I have boxes and boxes of bulk, and I'm still at a point where I haven't found the right thing. You know what I mean?
Oh man.
And the problem is that none of those after school programs and stuff are like local to me. So the shipping is just a disaster for me.
Yeah.
Because unless I can get it in a small envelope that's flat, it's going to cost me more than like $25 just to ship a small box of cards, right?
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah,
man.
so like it's not ideal, but I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, I know the pains. I could probably do the better thing and donate a lot of my cards, but I'm at a point where I don't have time for it, to be honest. I've got it pretty much all sorted out. I'm ready to get rid of it all. There's a GP coming in April that I'm just gonna, whatever I don't sell between today and until the GP in April, I'm just gonna sell it off there to vendors and a lot of the rares and mythic rares and whatever other good cards, because I just don't I don't have time to do it anymore. It
takes a lot of time to keep it all and organize. Like some of my stuff's organized, but not all of it by any means, right? Like if I was trying to organize all of it, it would be a full-time job, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. So you've been doing the YouTube thing for about, looks like 3 years now, from what I'm doing, and I think you and I, we were talking in DMs and all that, and just you sort of reached out that your views are getting lower and all that, and it's also the landscape of content creation for Magic has drastically changed just within the past year, ever since arenas officially come out and
That's
all
right.
that. I sent out that tweet a couple days ago or last week or whatever I did, just asking. There's so many new content creators that I want to interview. Like, I don't know who the heck's who anymore. And
That's
all
right.
that.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
there's so many people out there that aren't even on Twitter that are popular, and just I've never heard of these people before, and
Yeah.
it's crazy.
For sure, for sure. Like, and it's actually funny because like when you sent that tweet out and I replied to you, I was looking at some of the other replies and I'm like, I don't even know who half these people are, right? That are replying to you. I was like, I knew some of the names, but not all of them by any means.
Yeah, it used to be I mean, I know I started. Well, I did this podcast is 4 years old now, and I know at the time there was still a bunch of people doing content creation and all that stuff for Magic, but
Right.
it felt like a smaller niche community and all that. And I'm not.
Correct.
And this isn't the old man complaining at the clouds that there's so many new
Telling
people
the
now.
kids to get off your lawn.
Yeah. No, it's not so much that. It's just more of I can't keep up with it. Like I can't keep up with who's who anymore, and you've got the really big names in Magic, but then you see all these rising stars and just like I don't know where'd you come from?
Yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
and I still find it, and I don't mean this to sound bad, but I still find it so weird that Day 9 is now doing Magic the Gathering stuff.
Like officially. Right?
Yeah, I know. It's so weird to me because I've been into I'm not too deep into StarCraft now, but
Right.
I'll watch a lot of the really big tournaments sometimes. But I've been watching professional StarCraft since 2005, 2006 and all that, and Day 9, Artosis and Tasteless all super into it. And then when StarCraft 2 hit, seeing Day 9 and all them, and that's how I've known Day 9 forever, and I still find it weird that he's into Magic. I mean, it's cool, It's awesome, but it's like, no, you're StarCraft, man. No.
Yeah. And did that all started with him with the it was like the Spell Slingers thing on Geek and Sundry, right?
Yeah.
That was sort of like where he kind of got hooked into it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like he may have been involved in it prior to that, but I think
I think he's been playing Magic for a long time.
Exactly.
It's just to me, he's always going to be the StarCraft dude. He's one interview I'd love to try to snag. And I'd probably talk more StarCraft with him than actual Magic.
And you know what? He'd probably be all for that, to be honest.
Yeah. No, man. But the landscape's just changed, and something that you were sort of talking about was just is there room for pack cracking channels or pack opening channels? And I guess I just wanted to get some of your thoughts on that, and where you're thinking about that stuff too, because I mean it's a lot different now, and arena's just so wildly popular now, and it just seems to be the thing for it.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. Like the pack cracking channels, I think there's still a space for those channels on YouTube. I think the issue is that you can no longer just open packs and talk about the cards, right? I think the issue is that you now have to have some sort of gimmick or personality, right? To essentially bring people in, right? Like do something absolutely ridiculous or wild in your videos. Otherwise people they don't care, right? In the day and age that we are now, it's like everyone's in there sort of like, 5-second intervals, right? So it's like if it doesn't catch my interest immediately, I'm gone. I don't care, right? So I mean, I guess it's probably a problem that I have specifically is like I'm not one of those people that's going to be outrageous for the sake of being outrageous just to try and get people to watch the content, right? Which I guess is probably my own downfall, right? But hey, I mean, I love doing it. I'm probably going to just keep trucking along. I might reduce the amount of stuff I do over, the coming year just because, it is taxing on the wallet as well,
Oh,
so
I bet.
And especially with all the new product coming out that Wizards is releasing, like I don't know if you want to talk about that on this show, but man, do I have opinions on that.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, especially you doing primarily pack openings, with a lot of these collector's editions coming out and with all this alternate art, I mean, how what are some of your thoughts on that? Because not only does it really hamper the value of a lot of the cards, if that's something you care about, but
Yeah.
it's also it almost kind of feels, if you're not opening up a collector's booster pack, it doesn't feel as exciting to watch, I guess.
So yeah, so the collector's boosters, when they first announced it from Throne, I really was not on board.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, seems just like a massive money grab, and that's about it, right? And from a collector standpoint, I'm in a weird place because like I don't necessarily collect to keep value, right? I'm one of these guys that's like over here on my shelves that you can't really see, but I have binders and binders and binders of each set since I started collecting. And the idea that I've been following is I'm trying to collect at least one of every card from each set that I've opened by opening. Right? So I'm not trying to buy the cards individually to collect them. I'm trying to open them to collect them. And that's sort of like the goal that I'm going after, right? So like basically I do a series on like Tuesdays where I open sets where I don't have all of the cards from that set. So like I'll go and buy some like old set that, you know, people don't necessarily see as much anymore because I'm missing cards. And so I'll open it and see if I find any cards that I need for the set, right? So for me as a collector, I'm a little bit different than people who are going to be mad about collector's boosters because they lower the value and all that kind of stuff. And now that you have all these different editions, like the different arts and stuff, it's, you know, now which one's the more desirable one and all that kind of stuff. That doesn't really matter to me, right? Because for me, I'm just trying to collect one of every set. Now, the thing that matters to me is, well, now I've got to collect, you know, 400 cards from that set instead of only the 300, right?
Well, that also brings the question of, since you're trying to collect one of each card of a set, is that also including stuff that's only in theme boosters and deck builders toolkits for that set as well?
Right. So that's sort of the thing I've been dealing with for the last few sets, because I'm like, do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? I don't know. I haven't bought a single theme booster since they've released them. Not a single one. And I don't think I ever will. The cards that you can get from those that are unique to those, I'm not collecting. So I'm trying to stay within the, like, is this the, you know, 250 to 300 of the set value number on the bottom of every card?
Yeah.
If it is, then I need to have at least one copy of each, right? Everything that's after that, like if it has a number with no slash and then a second number on it, I'm like, that's not technically part of this set, in my opinion, right? Like, yeah, it was printed in this set, but it's not part of the set.
Okay.
So the collector's boosters, I mean, the Throne one was at least a little bit better than the Theros one. And I mean, you've probably seen or heard all of these complaints, right? Like the Theros one just, it was really bad. It was really badly executed compared to the Throne one. Like the Throne one, you'd get your commons, your uncommons that are in foil, but you never got basic lands.
Oh, right? Really? You didn't?
Yeah. At least I didn't. I mean,
okay.
I don't know. I mean, like I opened 2 boxes of the Throne collector's boosters, like one for myself and one for my patrons, and I didn't see any basic lands in the foil slots. Right now, I've opened up, I think, 3 packs of the Theros ones, and I've hit like 7 basic lands, right, in the foil slot. And I'm like, I mean, like, I like foil lands. I love foil basic lands,
especially
right? Like, they were some of my
Theros
favorites
too.
Well, but they're not the Stargaze ones.
Oh, they're not?
Right?
They're just regular?
No, that's what I'm saying. Is like these are just the regular ones in the first slot. Because I mean, in the collector's packs, you get the guaranteed 2 foil star lands, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to call them. But I like basic lands too. Like, you know, I have a whole box full of just basic lands and sleeves that I like to use for, you know, decks or giveaways or whatever, right? Because, you know, who doesn't like to foil out their land base?
Oh yeah.
Right. And getting them in the collector's booster in that slot just feels so bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't realize it wasn't a stargazing one too.
Well, yeah. It feels really bad getting them in that slot because you get the 2 basic lands in the Stargaze later in those packs, but not at the beginning, right? And I don't know, just the concept when it came to Throne was that you then get 3 guaranteed of the storyboarder cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the whatever you want to call it, the extra art or fancy art or whatever,
the
whatever the term
art
is.
or whatever they call it.
That's,
I don't know.
That's whatever. Yeah, I don't know what the term is that they use for it. And by that I mean I probably know the term, and it's just not in my brain at the moment. But basically, that one with Throne, you had more cards. You had commons, uncommons, and rares and mythics that all could come with the fancy storyboarder art, right?
Yeah.
In Theros, you don't have that.
Yeah, it's just uncommons and rares
mythics.
and mythics. Yeah.
Not even rares.
Oh, they didn't
right?
have any rares with alternate? Oh, it was just mythics. Okay. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You're right.
You're right. Yeah.
Right? So the way they designed the pack, right? Like with Throne, you got 3 cards that were guaranteed to be storyboarder art, and they could be any rarity. Common, uncommon, rare, mythic, right? And they would be non-foil, right? And then you would get like your ancillary card, which was like from the Brawl decks or whatever, right? Again, Theros, you don't have that. Like, I mean, you have the ancillary cards,
really
but you don't have the Brawl decks. You don't have the Commander decks. Like, all of those things that they had, you don't have now. You have the theme boosters and the Planeswalker decks, and that's it.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
For your ancillary cards. So, like, you're already losing a bunch of things that you had included in the Throne ones that you don't not including in the Theros. So, like, the Throne packs were much better, but that's not saying a lot. Right, because the Throne ones were still just a cash grab, and it was nice to open them and see the cool extended art in foil and all that kind of stuff. But the amount of money to spend on a single pack, the value just wasn't there, right? Like, unless you're specifically hunting like extended art rares and mythics.
Yeah, it's I mean, that could be a whole podcast in itself. Just the financial impact of all these new arts. I mean, a lot of it reminds me of Pokemon, the Pokemon card game, where you have the what did they call them? Like the EX, and then the extended art EX, and then the foil special edition EX, whatever cards.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but you had foils and you had reverse foils and
yeah, that's right. It's my wife and I were into that card game for a little bit. And she was way more into it than I was because of the online client, and it's not a bad card game actually. It can be pretty fun. I just more as a casual. The thing that I don't really like about it is it doesn't seem there's any way to kind of draft Pokemon or anything. I mean,
that's true.
I mean, I'm sure you could figure out a way to do it, but it just wouldn't be very good.
There's probably someone out there who's already done it, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But no, it's so it's that is one of the things with you are spending probably a lot of money opening up all these cards. Wow, that's pretty crazy. So one of the things is, are you noticing what do you notice gets more views, like a regular booster box or collector's edition now, or what do you think?
The collector's editions definitely, like when they first come out, if you open them right away, you're going to get way more views than if you were opening just regular product. Because people want to see what's in it to know whether it's worth buying, right? So, like, for instance, one of the reasons my channel suffers, and I'm going to put this right out there, is because I don't try to race to the start with everybody.
Yeah.
I don't try to release my product openings like the day of or the day before or 2 days before the product launches. And if you manage to get that stuff out at that point, you're going to get way more views because the product's not available to the public yet. So there are lots of people out there that, if you look at some of the other bigger pack cracking channels, you'll notice that they release their video either the day of the release or maybe the day before, depending if they were able to get their product somehow before release.
Yeah.
I don't want to like, not to like,
I've definitely never had an LGS try to sell me, D&D or Magic the Gathering stuff before street date because he knows I'll buy it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so the collector's boosters for sure. Like after the release date, the collector's boosters are still more popular, just because you have a higher risk ratio, right? It could be really bad or it could be really good. So they're definitely going to get more views. And then, of course, as time goes on, those packs become less relevant, right? Because people have seen so many people open it. And like, for instance, like this past Friday, I did my 6th box of my case of Theros, right? Mm-hmm. And I think its views are like way down compared to like my first box of Theros, because it was released near the beginning, and this one's released like 6 weeks later. And that's fine with me, because I don't want to open all my boxes at once and just dump one video or 6 videos online on the day of release and then have nothing for the next 6 weeks, right? That's not really how I want to run my channel. I'm more about wanting to run consistency and just have something that someone could watch every day if they want to, right?
Okay.
But yeah, like to answer your question, the collector's boosters, yes, see much more views than regular booster boxes. So like the special edition stuff definitely always is going to gain a little bit more traction than the other stuff.
Okay. And so you mentioned that you don't like to try to rush it out as soon as it releases. Is that why is that? Is it just more of a timing issue, or you just have never been a fan of doing it that way, or?
It's personal preference, yeah. Like, for me, it's just, I don't know. For me, I don't want to get caught up in I have to get my video out before other people so that I get all those first clicks, because, I'm not here, in my opinion, I'm not here to compete with those other channels. We should all be working together, right? We should all be working together to be a community. We shouldn't be trying to beat someone else to the punch just to get those initial clicks to, and that's my opinion. And that's sort of where my channel will fail, because I'm not willing to like be cutthroat, but that's fine with me.
I know.
Right?
Unfortunately, it's got to be cutthroat a lot of times. It's like when I do a complete set review, even though it's just audio or whatever, I'm going to do it on my own pace and all that. Yeah. And I mean, I'll try to do it the week of that set comes out and all that, but I'm not gonna, release all my episodes like the day after,
exactly.
They do the complete, reveal and all that. So I get that. Okay, so you it seems like you also have some videos that you open up some older packs as well too. Is that part of your series where you're trying to collect a lot of the older stuff, or because it says Mediocre Monday?
So, sorry, excuse me. My Monday series that I do on my YouTube channel, I try to have fun with it. So, basically, if you go back through the history of my Monday videos, you'll see that every Monday video is something Monday, and it generally is always alliteration. For instance, the Monday series actually started with Masterful Monday, which was one of every master set ever printed each Monday until the boxes run out. And then after that, I did Masterpiece Monday, which was one of every set that had lottery cards.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And then after that, I did a second series of Masterful Monday. And then now I'm doing Mediocre Monday, because I figured it was pretty like an interesting, different way of looking at things. So a lot of the sets, like the older sets, Fallen Empires and Homelands.
Yeah.
the only reason those are included is just because they were some of the like most mediocre sets ever printed.
Oh, yeah.
It's not necessarily about me collecting those cards, because I already have a lot of them, because I played during those sets when I was a kid, and I still have those cards. But they're there because of the fact that, like, I actually did a bunch of polls for this series of like trying to figure out what sets were the ones I should include.
Yeah.
So this one specifically, the Mediocre Monday, is not necessarily about me collecting the cards, but the Monday series I try to do giveaways, right? So every video is actually a giveaway video for my Monday series.
Cool.
So the way it works is you basically leave a comment on those videos and you vote on which set you think will have X requirement, right? So each week I change up what the requirement is, and then people leave their votes. And if they guess the proper set, they have a chance to win that pack that I opened that week.
That's cool. That's cool. So it seems that's really good that you do a lot of engagement like that with your patrons and audience, and I mean, it goes to show that's why you've got quite a few patrons as well too.
Yeah, and it's funny. Who was that? It was one of my patrons that tweeted out at me one day randomly. I think it was after I had made the tweet about my sub count and my view count going down. And one of my patrons tweeted out and was like, if you look at how many subs I have versus how many patrons I have, the ratio is way off compared to most other creators, right? Like the number of patrons I have is much higher than my subs, right? So like, if you look at another channel that has, 10,000 subs, they may have, 60 or 70 patrons, but I have not even a tenth of their sub count, but I have almost as many patrons as them. Right.
Yeah, and that's that's a really good thing to say, thing to think about too, because I've seen the same thing, really big Magic creators out there, and you'd think they'd have hundreds upon hundreds of patrons, and it's like, oh, they've only got 50 and all that, and I don't know, Patreon's always a weird game. I'm so terrible at advertising mine, and then
I'm in the same boat. I don't advertise it at all.
Yeah, and then I mean, like I said, some people just get lucky with Patreon, and you do seem to be, and that's good that you have all these people that are willing to help support you as well too.
So what I'll say, like, I mean, this is not, I don't want to like hijack this and talk about. This is why I'm like you. I'm bad at promoting this because I don't like to. It makes me. I don't want to sound like I'm begging, and I don't want to sound like I'm.
I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly. So what I'll say about my Patreon, and this is what I tell all my patrons, I actually don't really make money from Patreon, like at all. The money that comes from those patrons basically just subsidizes the packs that I open that I give back to my patrons. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So my Patreon, the way it works, and I think the reason I have so many is because my patrons actually get physical rewards every month, right? Yeah. And if you look at my Wednesday series, which I don't know if you've seen that, but the Wednesday series is one of everything Wednesdays, where I go around to the LGSs around my area and I buy one of every pack they have available.
Oh, nice.
Regardless of how old, how many, whatever. If we want to get into numbers, the largest amount I've ever dropped at one shop was $2,500.
Holy crap!
And that was for individual packs. And all of those packs, I opened them up and I put all of the cards over $1 into the patron pile, and every patron gets one of those cards every month, included with whatever else the rewards are. Right, so. So like that $2,500 that I spent on all those packs came from the patrons. So the cards that I get from it go right back to them. That's how I view it, right? Like, I'm not making money off Patreon. I'm using it to subsidize my addiction for cracking packs. That's basically it.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, my wife would not be happy if I spent that much money.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, I know I've spent a lot. Yeah, you probably spent a lot of money over time with Magic. I have too. But I guess, so we definitely know that you're addicted to opening packs here.
That is correct.
So what about actually playing the game? What do you enjoy about playing the game, and what formats do you enjoy? And
so, I mean, like, my favorite format is Limited. I am a huge Limited nerd. I love playing draft, sealed, all that kind of stuff. Mainly because I'm terrible at deck building. That's really where it comes down to. Like, when it comes to brewing and that kind of stuff, and I think I tweeted this out like last week. It was I tweeted out and I said, like, the thing that I've noticed is that my biggest problem with deck building is indecision. That's the biggest problem I have, and it's because there's so many choices of things to do or try that my brain goes, oh, you should try this combo, and then 2 seconds later, it's like, wait, but what about this combo? And
but
I'm like, oh, yes, okay, right.
So you're not good at deck building, but you like Limited, like draft and sealed?
Well, because it limits the pool that you have to
I
build
see
with,
what you mean. Okay,
right?
okay.
So now you're in
Because
the
that's all
position.
you're doing is deck building.
That's right. Yeah. So like with drafting and with sealed, your pool is reduced, so you can only use these cards, right?
I see what you
When
mean.
you're brewing, it's like, okay, you have, what is it, 16,000 cards to brew from for Commander or whatever it is, right?
Or Legacy, Modern.
Yeah, right. And I mean, even in Standard, you still have what, like probably over 1,000 cards, right, at any given
Yeah.
time. Because what you've got normally, what, 6 sets, 5 sets, 6 sets in Standard,
8 sets max.
8 sets max, right? So, and
Yeah.
they say they all have like 250 to 300 cards in them, right?
Yeah.
So it's a fair amount of cards to pick from, like in the
Yeah.
pool, right? And for me, I find like, and this is how Magic's always been, right? It's the classic pay to win scenario, right? If you have the money and you buy all of the mythics and rares that you want, and you build a deck with 4 copies of each,
Mm-hmm.
your deck's going to be better than the guy who shows up with a bunch of commons and uncommons and like 2 or 3 copies of the rares and mythics, because
Yeah,
that's
for
just
the most part.
what they had, right? And that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing, right? That's how it's always been. It's just that for me, because of the way I don't buy singles ever, right? So
Yeah.
standard is not something I play ever competitively or anything. Like, I'll play standard on Arena just because it's an easy way to gain
It's about the
your
only time I play
your
Standard
daily
now.
quests. Yeah, see, exactly. So like, and you don't have to worry about paying money to get the rares and mythics, because you just use your wild cards to brew the deck you want. Fine, right? But limited is definitely where I shine. I'm coming around to Commander, right? So I started playing Commander at Magic Fest Toronto last year,
Nice.
with Kitchen Table Commander, Commander's Brews.
Brett.
Yeah, Brett.
Yeah.
And Andy and Sean from Commander's Brews.
Okay.
And there was a couple other guys there too. Who else? Milo was there. Milo the
Oh,
Great.
nice.
He's not so much into Commander, but he's very much into limited.
Definitely into Cube, for sure.
Yes, he's definitely into limited formats. So I got to play a lot of Commander with those guys at that, and it kind of like gave me the bug. You know what I mean? Like, I had a bunch of Commander decks, which is why I played with them, because I brought them with me.
Yeah.
But that sort of gave me the bug to like, I want to play more of this.
Mhm.
So the problem I was having is that my play group of like guys that I knew from, high school, college, that kind of stuff, they were more kitchen table, right? So
Yeah.
they were more like 60 card decks with just cards, whatever cards we have,
Yeah.
we just play, right? And they, none of them were ever really into it to the point where like they're competitive, right?
Hmm.
So to give you an example, one of the guys that I've known forever who would play kitchen table with us had a bunch of decks. And then he sold me his collection just recently. And I found that he had a whole bunch of things in his collection that he wasn't playing with, right? But they're like I'm talking like Swords of Feast and Famine, and like
Yeah.
things that are like auto includes in a lot of decks, just because they're easy to they're artifacts. You can put them in any deck, right? Like, he had Batter Skulls as well, right? So like, these are things that I like. Had I been the one building the decks that he was playing with, those would have been in one of his decks,
Yeah.
and it would have had a powerful deck. So to give you an idea of the power level of these kitchen table decks, they were not the decks that it's like, oh well, people are playing 4 copies of Ancestral Recall and
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
like, not that at all. We're talking commons, uncommons. My buddy built a Minotaur deck. He's ready, right? And he's got those Minotaurs from the original Theros block, and that's all he's got. He doesn't have anything fancy, right?
I kind of miss those days. Yeah.
Wait, this is my point, right? So
I kind of miss those days of being like ignorant to how powerful Magic cards could be, and just building with whatever you had and trying to play it with other friends and all that.
exactly, yeah, and that's sort of like what we've kept alive with our group. Now the group has fragmented a whole bunch over the last 5 years, because people have moved
Yeah.
away, had kids, and all that kind of stuff. But because our group is so small now, I think there's only about 3 or 4 of us that still get together regularly. I've been trying to push them to play Commander, because I'm like, look, you can build these 100-card decks with the cards you have, right? And you can it's still like kitchen table per se, because you can just throw whatever, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be powerful. It just has to be fun, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's Commander just always feels more like a board game than an actual, just a 1v1 Magic match.
Exactly.
And all that.
And I actually got to play. I mean, you guys on 10th Street played some Paper Magic for the first time over the net, right?
Oh God, it was bad.
So what did you guys use to play?
What do you mean?
Did you use Skype to connect everybody together?
Yeah, it was Skype, and I had to make the jankiest camera. Yeah, I don't even have a little tripod. I do have a tripod. I just had no idea where it was that night, and so I had to do it very janky.
Right, because I got to play with the Commander 99 guys. I don't know when you're putting this episode live, but it was February 20th.
Yeah, I saw that. You were playing on Twitch with them?
Yeah, exactly. So I was playing on Twitch with them, and basically we got in 2 games, and the first game went fairly long, and the second game was very, very short.
Oh man.
Because they were like, we don't have a lot of time, let's do a short game. And so one of the guys, I think it was Mr. Combo number 5, pulled out a deck, and we're sitting there, and he's playing, cards that are well over $100-$200 a piece. And he's just casually, I think he had a Mana Crypt on turn 2, kind of thing, right? It's like, we're playing that kind of Commander game. I see.
Yeah. No, the Commander 99 guys, I've met them a couple times before, and they're pretty cool guys. They take their Commander very seriously. It's they're you think yourself a lot about Magic, and then you meet someone like them where they're just naming off all these different cards and all these interactions, especially in Commander. You're just like, what? Right. I know what a counterspell does. It's about
yeah. See, so I'm in the same boat as you, right? When you and Pixie announced this whole Magic for Normies thing.
Oh, I was
like,
thing.
Man, this is going to be right up my alley. I need to make sure that I'm a part of whatever this is, because this is totally who I am. Because I have the same problem as you. People will be like, this card, and they'll say the card name, and I'm like, yeah. That's a card name.
Oh, I'm so terrible with card names.
What does it do?
Yeah,
right?
I'm so terrible with names, and if it's not in standard right now, then I probably don't know it, and all that.
It's always funny to see the big difference, right? Like you were saying, the guys from Commander 99, they'll be able to just like this name it all off the top of their head and know the interactions and stuff, and I'm sitting here like, sure. It looks like it cost you what? A couple mana there, I guess.
Yeah. No, for sure. So what commander decks do you have right now?
So funny story. The first commander decks that I ever owned, I didn't build.
Okay.
I got them in a collection that I bought. So I bought a collection from I don't know if you remember Stubborn Salmon. But Stubborn Salmon was another pack cracking channel that existed around the same time. So he started up around the same time as I did.
Okay.
And he was only active for about a year and a half ish, and then he decided to just cut and run because it wasn't growing fast enough for him.
Yeah.
So he was like, I'm done. I need to recoup some funds and stuff. And so he asked me, he's like, do you want me to sell my collection to you? And I was like, well, I mean, you've opened up so much stuff. I've seen what you've opened. If you still have it all, I guess I'll buy it from you. I was like, but I'm not going to give you, full price. I'll give you, 70%. Right. And he was like, sure, that's fine. And, it's better than any store would give him, basically. Right.
Yeah.
So from him, I got four commander decks. I think it was 4. So Bontu, Uril, Nekusar, and Slivers.
Ooh, gross.
So I still have all those decks kicking around, and then I myself built my first commander deck, I think just last year, and it was Arcades.
Oh, nice. That can be a fun one. Big butts and all that.
Yeah, pretty much. I was playing it last night with my buddies, and I realized that the deck is good in the aspect of it has things that it can do on pretty much every turn, which is good.
Yeah.
The problem that I have is that as soon as someone slaps down something bigger than a 5/5, my walls can't get through.
So, do you have a lot of walls in that deck?
Oh yeah, it's all walls. The whole
So,
deck.
do you remember in Dragons of Tarkir when Assault Formation came out?
Yeah.
That reminds me of a little story. When Dragons of Tarkir came out, I went to an F&M just playing like a joke deck. Basically, built a walls deck with Assault Formation as the win con, so I could just swing and win. And it won a couple games and all that stuff. I wasn't expecting to take the whole store down and all that. So one of my buddies I was playing against, I beat him game 1, and then games 2 and 3 he beats me. And you know what card completely destroyed me at the time? Siege Dragon completely took me out. With the, do you remember what Siege Dragon does?
I don't. See, this is what. Yeah, I don't
see,
know.
when it enters the battlefield, you destroy all walls.
Oh.
It was not a card that was ever played in standard at all during the time, but he happened to have it in his sideboard, and I'm just like, what the? I'm like, you motherfucker! What the hell?
Oh man,
like, you
yeah,
just
that's
happened to have the
call-out,
one
dude.
card, and it's not like he was cheating or anything like that. It was just he played it, and I wasn't even mad. I was just laughing so hard because I had like 5 walls out, and
Yeah, and now you have nothing.
yeah. Oh man. So would a Siege Dragon destroy your Arcades deck?
Oh, probably. Yeah, it would wreck it up pretty bad, probably. No, I mean, like it has like the arcade. At least Arcades itself isn't a wall, right? So it would kill Arcades, and then as you play more defenders out of your hand, you draw, right? Because that's Arcades' ability. So I mean, like you could recoup from a board wipe pretty easily, and I built the deck so that it can. There's a lot of draw mechanics. The problem that I was saying, like the problem with the deck, and I need to tune it a bit, is that it just doesn't have any ability to get through creatures bigger than 5/5. Essentially, like as soon as they have 5 toughness, the walls can't kill them.
Do you not have any lords or anything to pump up the walls, or like a Vanquisher banner, or?
No. So that's what I mean. Is like I don't have any of those types of things in the deck.
I mean,
right?
I'd almost say coat of arms, but that also helps everybody else on the board.
Yeah, Vanquisher banner probably not too bad if you pick like wall, basically, right?
Oh, what's that? Oh no, I don't think that would help. Isn't there the white mythic from Throne? Doesn't that get, or is that only gives knights +1/+1? I can't remember.
No, the white mythic gives everything +1, and then
that could be good.
And then you can pay to make a knight, right? That's what that one is.
I don't remember.
The circle of whatever.
Circle of Loyalty, I think it's called.
That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. All right, we got there together. See?
Yes. We're good at this. So that's cool. So you also have a Nekasar deck. Nekasar can be disgusting.
You know what? I haven't even played it. That's what I mean. Like I own it, but I haven't played it.
You should just take it apart.
That's what I've heard. And this is the reason why I've never played it. Right? Is that everyone's always just like Nekasar, and I'm like, but if I don't know what the deck does, do you think I'm going to be playing it optimally?
It's just all wheels. Nekasar. I mean, it's easy to beat Nekasar as long as you just counter everything that Nekasar tries to do. That's the only way I can beat my friend's Nekasar deck. So my play group can be pretty degenerate, and so I had to build my Grand Arbiter deck just to counter everybody else's stupid decks. And I've said this before a bunch on the podcast and even on stream that my only win con's Approach of the Second Sun, and that Grand Arbiter deck, it's not stacks, it's just pure control. Right. I'm not going to allow you to do pretty much anything that I don't like.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, you let them. You can resolve that. That's fine.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, everybody hates it, but I'm like, you're playing your stupid Animar combo deck. You're playing your, stupid Nekasar deck. You're playing your, Infect deck or your Storm deck. I'm like, you're going to get mad at Grand Arbiter?
Well, they're like, yeah, we want to resolve our spells.
Nope. Not going to allow you to resolve anything. Oh, one of the funniest games I had with that deck was, I got the Teferi, the 5-cost Teferi from Dominaria. Yep. And they were trying so hard to kill it because I was going to ult it. And and so I countered, I don't remember how many counter spells I had. I countered everything they were trying to do, stopped everything. And I had, 2 people quit when I ulted Teferi because then I was just going to start exiling all their shit.
Yep.
I mean...
Yeah, that ult on that Teferi is very scary.
Especially when I can draw a lot of cards too. And Like I said, that's my police commander, like my fun police.
So have you thought about putting the Dreamstalker into that deck yet? Then
Oh, Dream Trawler, yeah. Oh, he's in that deck.
Yeah, nice.
Just as another win con. I did put.
Yeah.
I mean, Approach isn't my only win con in it. I've actually since then I've put in a few more win cons. Approach is probably my main win con. I also have Ulamog in there just to. I mean, that's not really a win con in itself, but it helps clear out some of the board, and I can at least target someone and get rid of their library.
Can I ask which Ulamog?
The Battle for Zendikar one, the good one.
Okay, so the Exile one. Okay, yeah. Exile 20 cards or whatever when in the decks.
And then Dream Trawler is... It's not really much of a win con. It's just more of a try to stop things. But Approach is my only true win con in it.
Right. Yeah, okay, which makes sense. But I mean, if you're digging that much, that makes sense too, right? Because you play it, and you can get back to it probably within a turn or two.
Yeah, or the same turn.
There you go.
Oh man. So what was the other decks you said? You had Slivers, who's the commander for that one?
It's the Overlord.
Overlord, all right, the only good one. The Cascade one I've seen is pretty nasty.
Yeah, Brett has one with the Cascade.
I'm so tempted to rebuild Slivers again, but then it's just such a when you play Slivers, like there's certain commanders out there like Atraxa, Nekisar, any kind of Sliver commander, it no longer becomes a pod of 4, it becomes arch enemy at that point. Because you have to take out that player or else
that's correct.
or else you're just dead. That's why I took apart my Slivers deck, because if I'd want to play it, they'd just kill me right away. Which I don't blame them.
Let you get past like 4 mana, basically. Yeah.
I mean, and you can't really blame them either, because Slivers is just so dumb, but I love it.
It gets out of hand real fast.
What was the other commanders you said you had?
So there's a few more that I didn't list. Of course, I have the Commander Anthology 1 and 2, right? Okay. That are just the pre-builts. I haven't changed them in any way, but I have them, and I have them sleeved up just in case people want to play them. I of course have the what is it, Anji?
Oh, Anji, the discard one, the madness one. I mean,
yeah. So I have that one pre-built. I haven't changed it.
That's one that Pixie has. That deck can be dumb.
That deck is fun. The first time I opened it up and played it, I was like, this deck is actually really fun to play. Like, maybe it doesn't have like some of like the mad strength of like another deck, but like Anji's ability of being able to like discard a madness card, play it, and if you play a madness card, you untap Anji, and you can keep doing it. Is like, oh, okay,
yeah, cool. It gets ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's pretty strong just out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. And I think all of the 2019 ones were pretty good out of the box. They did a really good job of making them like not necessarily super powerful, but at least powerful enough, right? Yeah. Now, of course, I haven't played with the other ones myself yet, but my buddies from my play group all bought one of like essentially each so that we could play, right? And so like they've all played. I've seen the Jeskai one, and
there's the Sultai one, the Morph. That's the Morph one.
Yeah,
and then there's the was it Naya? Naya.
Yeah, Naya. Yeah. So I've seen the Jeskai and Naya ones go off as well, which were pretty good. The Sultai one, no one else had picked up or played yet, and I haven't played it yet. I have a copy of it, but I haven't opened it yet.
Okay.
And then I have, of course, Athreos, which I built just for this past Thursday. I'm actually in the process of what I'm working on now is I'm working on building all the OG gods.
Oh, nice. Yeah, a lot of them are good. I used to have a god tribal deck with all the 15 Theros gods, and it was absolutely terrible.
Combo number 5 was saying that he had one too, like that, similar. Well, all the gods that he could have in the deck. I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, right? And I built that before Amonkhet came out, and it was Corona, the false god, was my commander, and I'd never want to play her because she's terrible. But it was.
But you needed the 5 colors.
I need the 5 colors, and I needed a theme for it too. Had to be on theme. So it was such a terrible deck, but it was so much fun when I could actually get like 5 or 6 gods out, start getting them activated online, and just all the stupid abilities they could all do. It was fun.
Yep. Yep.
Oh,
That's why, like,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the reason I decided to go down this road is just because the secret layer, right? Like the.
Oh yeah. I only bought the blue secret layer. I was so tempted to buy it, all of it, but I honestly don't care about the other ones really. I only wanted Krufix because he's my absolute favorite commander. He's my absolute favorite commander, my favorite deck, probably my most tuned deck, and all that. I mean, the only thing I could probably upgrade to make it better is just better mana base on it, like more fetch lands and duels. But I don't care about spending that money on the mana base. Maybe one day.
Any new cards that have come out from the new sets though? There might be, right?
That I can put in it. I put Oko in it for one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And I thought there was one. I mean, I put Wilderness Reclamation in it just to help out with more mana.
Cool.
And I thought there was a Theros card, and I put it.
The Dryad, maybe.
No, because I didn't want to put that in there because a lot of my creatures, it's sort of like half Eldrazi, half Hydras, and all that.
Okay.
So it's trying to put in another card because I think I already have Oracle of Moldiah in there, and putting in another card that does that thing doesn't really help me because I've already got plenty of ramp in that deck too. So
yeah, that's not a bad plan. Yeah, because the what was the other one? If you're doing Hydras, you could put in that uncommon, right? The enchantment that doubles all the tokens.
It doubles all the. You mean all the counters on it, or?
Yeah, it doubles all the counters. It's like the Hydra
growth or something, or
something like that. If you want to make your own Hydra out of a non-Hydra creature, you know.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't be too bad.
I mean, it might be slow for what you're doing, but I mean,
yeah,
it would just be a kind of fun flavor thing.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad. Like, yeah, for a fun flavor thing. I did put Hydroid Krasis in there, and because that was really going. No, but my favorite Hydra in it is Hydra Broodmaster from, was it Journey into Nyx? So that is. Do you remember what that one does?
I don't, but I remember the name.
So I think he is a 7/7 when he drops, or a 6/6, something like that. But he has Monstrosity, where you pay 2 X cost and I think a green, and whatever the X cost is, you add that many counters to Hydra Broodmaster and create that many XX Hydras at how much of the X cost you paid as well.
Okay. Yeah, all right. In a Krufix deck, you would have a lot of mana, so yeah, that makes sense.
So, like, I remember one game I saved up 70 mana. I don't know why no one was stopping me. And so I paid, 70 mana into Hydra Broodmaster and created, like, 25 25s, and just swung and won. It was fun. It was a fun game. Yeah, but if did you get the secret layer for the gods?
I did, yeah. I bought the bundle. I told myself after the first bundle that I wouldn't buy any more secret layers. Because
this is my first one I've bought. I have not had any interest in buying any of them. But when I saw especially Krufix, I'm like, I have to buy it now. You know?
Yeah. So for me, it was I wasn't going to buy any either when they first announced it, and then when they said you get the stained glass planeswalkers, I was like, okay, that hooked me. I really love the art on the stained glass planeswalkers. Yeah. So I bought the first bundle, and it took more than a month to get to me.
Oh wow!
Because I'm in Canada, right? So like they shipped it out, and who knows what happened? But like they really bungled it up like really bad. Like I got my shipping notification, right? That had like my tracking number and stuff. And when I clicked on it, it'd take me to the page and it says, okay, it's currently that they printed the label. That's all it said, right? And I'm like, okay, weird, right? And I got an email from them that showed me like my order status, and it had all the items in the list marked as shipped. And I was like, okay, so they've been shipped. That's good. But when I went to my account on their page, all the items said that they were pending shipping.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, so wait, the screenshot you sent me says shipped, but this says that they're not shipped. What's going on? And I went back and forth with support, I think 5 times, trying to figure out, like, has it shipped yet or has it not shipped? I don't know what's going on. They finally went, oh, we gave you the wrong tracking number. And I went, what? And so they sent me another tracking number, and I clicked it, and it said that it had shipped, and it had actually been like left. It had been shipped. I was like, okay, but this tracking number doesn't match what's on my account page. So can you fix that? And they went, no. And I'm like, but then how do I know that this is my product? Like, you've just sent me this tracking number. It doesn't say where it's going. It just says that it's shipped.
Yeah.
How do I know that this is mine and not somebody else's? That you just like, here's a tracking number.
Yeah, no, right. Try to placate you.
And I'm like, I don't understand. And actually, I think until it showed up at my door, I had no idea if it was actually going to get here or not. Right.
Oh, wow. And that was the first set of secret layers they did?
Yeah. And so like when they announced that they were doing the rat one, I was like, I don't care. Right. Like I'm not buying it. I don't care.
Yeah. I like ink eyes and all that, but I'm not, biting at the bit or chomping at the bit to want to get it,
Well, see, that was it for me. I was like, I have no interest in playing those cards in any deck right now, so I don't need them. And then when they said the gods, I was like, okay, well, I could use the gods as my commanders, and that's kind of cool. And that's sort of what sent me down the road of like, maybe I'll build the OG commanders, and I got these coming in the constellation, which is kind of cool. So, all right, let's go down that road because, like I said, my biggest problem with brewing any deck, including commander, is my indecision. So, like.
Yeah,
it's
good.
I need something to focus on and then go.
That's definitely going to be hard for you. You got 15 commanders you got to build out of.
Yeah, well, I built one, so I'm gonna build. I'm gonna try to do one a week. I think is my plan. Until I'm done all 15. Right. I think that's my plan anyway. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Maybe that won't work.
Oh man, that's fun. So I want to shift the gears a little bit. You mentioned that you're in IT. As well.
Yes.
And do you mind speaking a little bit about what you do? And because I'm in IT also. And
sure, yeah. So I work for RBC, which is one of the big banks in Canada, right?
Okay.
I guess the biggest bank.
I mean, you don't need to do any like personal information or anything like that.
No, that's fine. But okay. So I work in IT for them. So you can just imagine like what the IT sort of is like for a company that is just absolutely massive, right?
And especially for a banking company as well, too. I can only imagine.
Financial, yeah. So, what I'll say is I've been in support for the last, I think, 13, 14 years now. My role has changed. Like, I've stayed in the same position for all those time, but the role and the stuff that I've done has changed drastically over the last, 10 years. So I went from basically being like a on-call support person for when they needed me to answer, or fix things. And then from there, I went to essentially being like a high-level support, so they would only call me when they couldn't fix it on the front end kind of thing.
So like a tier 2, tier 3 type thing?
Essentially, yeah. And then now I'm actually more of like, even though I haven't really changed roles, I'm more of like what they're calling me now is an application guardian, I guess is what you would call it.
Oh, okay.
So essentially I do like the release management and make sure that the stuff that the development teams are putting into my environments aren't going to break it.
Oh, nice. Right? So sort of like a QA person almost, or?
So no, there's like the QA people, like I'm the one that it has to go through to be able to go live.
Oh, okay. So you're like the final step.
Yeah, it's more like a management attestation of all of their QA results and their testing and all that kind of stuff, right? So they come along and they say, here's our project, we're putting it in. And I go, okay, but you don't have this on my checklist. Where is it? Yeah. And they go, oh, we never got that. You can't go live then. Sorry. Right. Like that's basically it. Right. And they go, people, we have to meet our deadline. And I'm like, well, then you should go get this and get it now. Right. Like, if you don't have it, you can't go in. And they're like, but we have to go in. And I'm like, you telling me this means nothing, because you know who doesn't have a vested interest in your business group? Me. I have an interest in my clients not having broken things.
Yeah. And especially anything that could be vulnerable as well, too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, no, that's pretty cool. So I work for a really big national healthcare company in the U.S., and it's one of my security directors that I know used to work for a really big banking company here in the U.S. And he's told me a story. He was like the security manager, whatever it is, and just telling me all these stories of how locked down banks are as far as IT goes, and how crazy, like I guess essentially crazy it is, and the auditing they have to go through, and I can't even imagine, because we did a SOC 2 audit about 4 or 5 years. Are you familiar with SOC 1, SOC 2?
Yep, I sure am.
We just had to do a SOC 2 because we don't hold any financial data or anything like that.
Right.
So we did SOC 2, and oh my gosh, the amount of meetings that we had to go through, that the amount of auditing, and how boring it was, and having to list all these controls and functions, and I'm just like, oh god, I can't even imagine what it must be like for a bank.
Yeah, my favorite thing about the audit stuff that we have to do is, like, they come to you and they ask you for all these details, so you provide it to them, and then maybe 3-4 months down the line, when you've forgotten that you provided these details to them, they come back to you and go, this thing that we were looking at, it looks like it's wrong. Can you comment on this? And you're like, you're just looking at that now? Why did I provide it to you 4 months ago?
Yeah.
Right? Like, you guys came to me and said you need this by end of day, tomorrow. So I rushed around getting it for you, and you haven't looked at it until now? Like,
yeah, I know.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. There's a lot for you to parse here, but, like, I feel like maybe you should have, like, booked a meeting to do a walkthrough if you needed to see it all, or, anyway. But my favorite thing about the audit is that they always ask for something, and then you give it to them, and then they'll come back with more of, like, we need this now, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
That's the thing with audit, is that it kind of, like, snowballs, right? Like, you give them something, and then that thing that you give them might raise more questions for them, and then now they ask for something else, and then you give that to them, and that raises more questions. And it's a very fine line of giving them enough information to do their job and audit properly, and not giving them all the information so that they don't ask a plethora more of questions.
Oh yeah, yeah, and especially I don't know what it's like in banking or anything, but in healthcare we gotta not only do SOC 2 audits, we also have to do HIPAA compliance audits and all that, and meaningful use. I guess HIPAA is a U.S. thing.
I don't know. I've never heard of that one.
I don't know what the equivalent of it is in Canada, but HIPAA is basically just protecting your medical recorts and all that. And protecting your healthcare information.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So
we have something similar. I don't know what it's called, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all like the personal information, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And we have to do so many audits with that, and it's and so me being on the networking side with it, I always get people a little peeved off at me because, I control all the firewalls and all that. And whenever there's like a developer or, a systems guy who needs like, hey, I need access to this one thing, and can't you just open it up for me? Like, no, that's not how that works. Or
it's funny how people don't understand that, like, at all. Oh, I know exactly what you mean, because I have people come to me saying, hey, I asked the network team to give me this and they won't give it to me, and I'm like, what do you want me to do about it? And they're like, well, we need it. I'm like, then find the right solution, because what you asked them to do, they can't do that for you, because and then I tell them it because of all these reasons, and they go, oh, and I'm like, well, you didn't think of any of this stuff? Like, here are all these things that are wrong with what you've asked for, and you didn't think of any of those while you were asking for it? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, listen, you can't have what you want unless you can find a proper way of doing it. And they're like, and I'm like, yeah, they're not going to just give you access. Like, I had one guy, I think it was like just last week or 2 weeks ago, was like, oh, we have 6 users at this one location that can't access this tool anymore. Can we just open up the ports on this IP?
No.
And I went, what? And they're like, yeah, we just want to, like, so that they can get in. And I went, no, you can assign those 6 people who need access static IPs and open up their IPs to this. Sure.
Yeah.
Go for it. But you can't just open up that location's generic IP to get into. Because then now everybody can just...
Yep.
No, there's no control there. Then you can't do that. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if in banking... if you experience this, but in like my line of work, we do a lot of acquisitions of like smaller clinics and smaller businesses. And I don't know, do you do anything like that? Does your bank acquire like other banks and you have to rebrand them or anything? No.
I mean, like if it does, I don't hear about it.
Oh, okay, okay.
In my world, because I mean, the thing with our company is that, like, because there is so many different things in the financial sector, I could be working in my world here, and there could be, like, 50 other IT groups that I have no connection with at all that are also doing other things. And then the acquisition side of stuff, like you're talking about, would be like the business side that has nothing to do with IT, and they wouldn't tell us if they don't have to, right?
Oh, I see what you... Okay, okay, that makes sense. Like I said, I'm very ignorant in like financial sector and all that stuff. I've been in healthcare for over 10 years now, and so I'm assuming it's very different worlds.
I'm in the same boat as you, right? Because I've been in financial sector for this long, and I have no idea about any of the other ones. But
yeah,
no, the acquisition of banks, it doesn't really happen that often, I would imagine. Like, the thing is that, like, I think it's probably, I guess actually, I don't know about how it is in the States, but in Canada, there's not really like what you would call, like, third party banks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, I have no idea like how any of this works in financial, so I don't know if that actually happens. I only mention that like, because it's... Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, we have like the 4 or 5 like big names, and like that's right?
Yeah, we've got about the same down here. No, but I only mention it because it's... You know how you always read about those horror stories of, server rooms or people just not knowing what the heck they're doing and all that. It's so that those are some of the things I come across when we have to acquire these smaller clinics and businesses. Just some of these doctors' offices, it can be scary. We literally had, we still have it though. We actually have this one clinic when we bought it. The server room, the IDF closet, was literally in the bathroom, and it still is to this day because it would cost way too much money to relocate it.
In the bathroom?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay.
Yeah. And then I still remember, and for the listeners and viewers, I'm very sorry if this is all boring, but I don't get to talk IT too often, especially when I'm interviewing Magic people here. So I apologize, but hey, this is all interesting to me. So.
Yeah. I mean, I was just gonna make the bad joke of, like, that's a shitty place to have your server room.
It is. It really is. Especially, well, because so it's not in the actual bathroom, like where the toilet is. So so you go into the bathroom, and then there's like a little closet door in the bathroom, and you open up that closet door, and then there's the server room right there. And it is behind a lock and key and all that stuff. So not just any patients can walk in and do whatever.
Right, of course.
So
that would be much worse. Yes.
So
imagine like the client comes in and just accidentally unplugs the server or something.
Well, they could have before we acquired it though, which was the scary thing. No, but let's just say there's been a few times where I've had to work there overnight, and then the sudden urge of having to go to the bathroom hits, and you're
right there.
Yeah, you're right there.
You're right there.
No, but it's oh god, there was another story where we used to have to go to these clinics to help set up this software that we owned, and it was just a really convoluted way to set up the software. And I still remember going to this one doctor's office, and they had all pirated copies of Windows and Office and all that stuff, and the doctor was asking me if I wanted to do IT work for him on the side. I'm like, and then he was also asking if I could help him get some legit keys of Windows and all this. I'm like, no, hell no. And I'm like, I was this close to like wanting to report him to Microsoft and all that. The licensing. I'm like, I'm not even gonna freaking bother, because whatever. I don't even think that doctor.
You should have just sent him the link to like buy Windows from like some store or whatever. Right. Like, here you go. You want legit copies of Windows? There you go.
And you'd be. I don't know if you would be surprised, but it's very surprising how many little clinics are like that too, where they're their doctors, like the owners or whatever, just don't buy Windows. It's all pirated stuff, and some of the setups of the IT just make you go, why the would you set it up like this? Why? That reminds me of another story. You would enjoy this, being in like knowing security and banks and all that stuff. So, you're pretty familiar with networking and all that, like VLANing and.
I mean, like it's
like the basics of networking and.
Yes, of course.
So I had to do. I was I did a little consulting on the side one time where this person was going to be buying half of a dentist's office, right? And so the one half was for pediatrics and the other half was for adults. So they used to be owned by one person, but they were selling off the pediatric side. So I was helping consult that, and it was going to be a completely separate business at that point. But they had everything on one network and all that stuff, and everything just in one area. And one of the biggest things to me was just how wide open their like IT closet was, where I'm like, anybody could just walk in here and unplug stuff. And the owner was like, yeah, but we'd watch and make sure that no one walks in there and all that stuff. I'm like, like, why don't put just a lock or key or something behind? He's like, oh, that's just too much trouble or too much hassle. I'm like, oh my God. And then I was talking about the networking, where I was asking him, well, since you guys are going to be separate companies, why not, I can help, quote out whatever, just your own separate networking and, segregating the network and all that stuff. And they had their own IT consultant there. And the guy was just had to have been lazy as hell. He's like, why would you do that? Why would you separate the networks and all that? Why not? It's like, no one's going to access the other person's computer. I'm like, are you serious right now?
Oh, man.
There was just so much more stuff to it, but I just wanted to like slap this other IT guy in the face. Like, are you serious? Like, do you, like, this is like HIPAA freaking violation number one right here, especially when it's two separate companies. You guys should not be sharing any patient information or anything, and not even be on the same network. And just like, oh, that's just too much work. I'm like, no, it's not.
It's not even a matter. Yeah, it's too much work. Yeah, but you have to do it regardless of how much work it is.
I ended up not doing any. They just wanted me to consult a couple more times, but I didn't actually do any work. They were just like the owner of the pediatric place was just so frustrated. They're like, yeah, no, we're gonna get someone else, and it wasn't more of a reflection on me. It was just I didn't want to. I'm kind of glad they didn't, keep me on or whatever. I'm like, I didn't want to deal with that other guy because I would have had to, and all that. Yeah. So, oh God, that was a funny one. Have you ever had to do any consultant work or anything like that before? Or
for me, I mean, internally, yes. Externally, not, other than being essentially, I guess, like what you would call
family IT guy.
Like, yeah, but like not just family, like what you would call like getting essentially, I guess, given out to friends of family members and things as here, this is an IT person. So I have a really funny story for you.
Sure.
When I was living at my old house, I was living in like a townhouse complex, and literally across the parking lot from my house was a masseuse that my father used to go to. Right. I guess he probably still goes to them. Anyway, I don't live there anymore, so it doesn't matter. But so this masseuse was across the parking lot, and I guess she was having problems with her IT stuff, right? And I had never met her or dealt with her or anything, and she just shows up at my door one day, just knocks on the door, and I'm like, "Hello." Like, I had no idea who she was, and she's like, "Hi, I'm this person. Your dad told me that you could help me with my IT stuff." And I'm like, "What?" And she's like,
man.
Yeah, she's like, I'm having problems with my internet and my printer. It won't connect and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. I was like, I mean, why? I'm assuming, I'm like, you don't have it here with you, right? Because she's at my door. So I'm like, no. She's like, so
what do you want me to do?
You want me to like come over to your house or something? I'm like, where do you live? And she's like, oh, I just live over there. And she points, and I'm like, Oh, I'm like, that's close enough. I can walk to it, I guess. I was like, okay, when do you want me? Well, can you come now? No, no, I did what? No, I'm not. You just no. I had no warning of this. You just knocked on my door. It's like it was like Saturday morning at like 10 a.m. or something like
Oh,
that, and
screw that.
I'm like, no, I'm not. What? I was like, here's my email address. Send me an email. I'll email you back when I have some time that I can come by to look at it for you. Oh, well, I need it like fixed right away. And I'm like, that's not my problem.
Yeah, exactly. It's
I'm like, it has nothing to do with me. Right. And she's like, well, he said that you could just look at it for me. And I'm like, that's nice. So then I had a nice, stern conversation with my father that night where I was like, listen, I will go and help her this time. But you tell her the next time you're over there that it's $50 an hour.
ooh, you're cheap.
Right, that's cheap. That's
Yeah,
cheap,
that's
right?
super cheap.
That's super cheap, right? She's like, and so like he told her that, and she's like, oh, he wants me to pay him, and I'm like, of course I want you to pay me. Like, who? If you were gonna call some IT guy to come fix this for you, it'd be $150 an hour,
Yeah, exactly.
right? And she's like, "Oh, I'll get someone else to do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's right, you will. Like, I'm not here to just service things for people when
Yeah,
you."
and it's frustrating because I'll still help out family with stuff and all that stuff, but then
Yeah,
just like you when they tell their friends and all, and I'm just like, whoa, first of all, that's when I'm like, because I used to be really open to helping anyone out, but nowadays, since I hardly ever do, you know, I very rarely work on desktops now or anything like that, or like printers and all that. I'm like, I don't know. I'm in network switches and firewalls all day. I barely know anything about
yeah,
desktops now.
yeah,
I mean that's a lie. That's what I just say to them
yeah,
because I
yeah.
build my own desktops and stuff,
Of
and
course,
you
yeah.
know,
Like you still know, you just don't.
I just don't
You
want to
know,
do it.
yeah, exactly.
But
And I'm in the same boat, right? Like I went and fixed her stuff for her the first time, right?
yeah,
So I went over and I fixed it all, got it all working. It was super easy. All she had to do was push the little network connect button on the top of her printer
that's
to
really
get her
hard.
to get it to connect
Yeah.
to the network, right? And then all of a sudden it worked, and I was like, okay, you're you're done, I guess. Like it's working now. She's like,
Yeah,
oh, how'd you fix it? I'm like, well, I pushed this button right here, and
that'll be
then it worked,
$200.
right? I was like, and I'm like, all right, well, and I think like so she came by my house again like later that week to like drop off my payment, and I'm like, and like so she showed up and just dropped off like 2 cases of Dr. Pepper, right? Because like I was hosting Friday Night Magics and stuff at my house
Oh,
for
okay,
my play
okay.
group, so I had like a mini fridge full of pop and stuff, and my dad had told her this, and so
Oh,
she just
jeez.
dropped off 2 cases of pop as payment, and I was like, I mean, thanks,
It's
but
not
at the
really
same
payment.
time,
I'd rather have cash.
I was like, listen, you didn't have to give me anything this time. This one's on me, right? It was
Yeah.
I pushed a button. I don't really want to charge you for that. That's fine. Just know that if you need actual help with things in the future, it's $50 an hour, right? And she was like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, like
That's
it's
cheap as hell too.
yeah.
That's
Well, that friend of a family member, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll give you a discounted rate, right? And then I think she messaged me like maybe a year or two later and was like, hey, can you help me set up my my Nest doorbell,
oh,
right? And I went, I have no experience
I
with
know
that at
nothing
all.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I've never set one of these up. I have no idea how it works. It would be a complete new learning experience for me to figure out how to set it up, and I'm not doing it for free.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely something like that. I usually charge $100 an hour
Right.
and all that, and it's funny. I used to get a lot of patients coming up to me asking me to do IT stuff, and then I'd be like, depending on the person, I'd be like, oh, probably like $150 an hour or whatever. Or I just tell them straight up no, because
Right.
I used to do so much of the side work where now I don't give a crap anymore. I mean,
Mhm.
the extra money would be nice, but I'm in a spot where it won't make or break me or anything.
I was going to say, yeah.
It would
That's
just
exactly
be
where I am.
it'd be money I'd either spend on Magic or just put away for a vacation fund.
Hmm.
I don't need it anymore.
Yep.
But oh man, so how long have you been in IT now?
Uh, 15 years.
Nice, nice. It's
Right.
Do you ever see yourself getting out of IT at all, or you think you're just in it for good?
I mean, I don't want to be in IT anymore.
You don't?
No, not really. I mean, like, I like it, but like, I'm kind of at a point where I'm burning out a bit, right? Like it's, and
Do you think it's the job that you're at, or do you think it's
yeah, it's the job that I'm at. Like, I mean, maybe IT somewhere else would be better. I don't know, but um, I think without without slamming my own company too hard
well
here,
no, no, and I don't want you to or anything like that.
um,
It's
a lot of the new practices that they're trying to implement are unhealthy.
I know what you mean.
So, if it goes down that road and they do manage to get those implemented fully, it might be time to look somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, I mean, I would love to open a brick and mortar, right?
What, game shop or something, or
Yeah, that's like sort of what I would love to do.
how is the economy and business like that in a place like Canada? Because I know in some like Florida, especially the area where I'm at in Florida, that would be a very dangerous business to even open up because
Yeah.
it's freaking hard. Because I'll just let you know right now, in the LGS I only have one LGS left here in my town. We used to have one, two, three. We had three at one point. Two of them closed down. Now we've just got the one. And then that's just in my immediate town. In the area, we used to have like, oh God, like 6 to 7, and all but, like, not counting the one where I'm at in my town, but all but like one or two are open. One or two are left now. It's
Right.
and what's
That
crazy is, oh, I'm sorry, just one other thing. What's crazy is Magic is not even like the most popular thing right now. It's D and
Correct. Yeah.
D. D and D is
Yep.
it's insane how crazy popular D and D is right now.
Yeah. What I was going to say is like I would say like up here at least it doesn't seem as volatile as that.
That's good.
But is definitely like I would say that a lot of the hobby stores or LGSs have moved away from Magic only, right?
Yeah, I think you have to
were a lot.
nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot that were Magic only.
Yep.
Now you'll find that a lot of the stores that were carrying Magic or still carry Magic carry much less Magic than they used to, and they've moved into the board games, Warhammer, that kind of stuff, just because the profit margin on those things is more sustainable, right?
Yeah.
It's not even that. Because the problem that a lot of people are going to realize with LGS is that they think, oh, the owners are just out to make money.
Well,
And
I mean, you kind of have to make money.
every business is that way, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing, but the point is that the profit margins on things like board games, Magic cards, Warhammer, all that kind of stuff is actually not that big, right? Like, I mean,
they're not.
It's like I think Magic the profit margin on them is like 5 to 10% or something like that.
It's pretty low, especially
really
with
small.
the wholesale price of booster boxes getting higher and higher.
Yeah, it's really small and it's not ideal, but I think Warhammer has one of the better ones. I think it's like between 20 and 30% or something like that, which is a good profit margin for sure. But you also got to remember, like with Warhammer, you're not going to sell nearly as much Warhammer as you would like Magic product.
Yeah,
because once you sell a box of Warhammer, that guy takes it away, and like maybe that person buys 6 or 7 boxes of Warhammer, but then maybe you don't have someone else buy Warhammer stuff for another 4 weeks or something, right? So even though the profit margin is better, you're not selling as much of it as quickly, right? So a lot of LGSs and stuff are now making the move to selling, like I would say, like hobby items or like knickknacks is what I would call it, like pop vinyls and collectibles, like that kind of stuff, the stuff that matches with whatever it is that your interest is, right? But it's still like a hobby, right? at least that's what I'm seeing up here, right? It's like a lot of the local game stores have moved away from comics, Magic cards, and just like other collectible card games and things like that. And they've moved more into the board game and collectible like pop vinyls, T-shirts, like all of the sort of like tertiary market of like nerd culture, I guess is what you would call it, right? And that's how they're staying in business, right? Which is, not ideal, but at the same time, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You got to go with the flow of what's popular, and like I said, D&D is what's super popular in my area right now, and we've got a really healthy scene right now. They've got games going on every single day now, and it's insane. Magic depends
LGS.
on at my LGS, and F&M definitely doesn't see as much attendance now, but the days they do Pioneer and Commander are really popular though.
Right. Okay.
So you're thinking about trying to do a LGS store eventually?
Yeah.
Or one day maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like I put a business plan together for it. I think about 8 years ago. Me and one of my buddies from college, because we wanted to run it together. And but then his financial situation was not ideal at the time. I was working full time for RBC, so I had funds kicking around, and I didn't own a house yet, and all that kind of stuff. So like I was flush with cash, right? Because I was living at home, didn't pay a lot of bills. I had a full time job that was paying me very well, right?
I miss those days.
Right? Yeah, I miss those days too. So basically, my goodness, I don't know if you can hear that. My stomach is going crazy here.
Oh no, you're fine.
Okay, good. Basically, the LGS, the business plan was more so, and this is what I was going to ask you about your D&D sessions, is the concept behind the store would be more along lines of a place to run events. Yeah. Right? So, you're going to have product to sell, but your LGS is more of like come to play, right? So think of it like, I don't know if you guys have these things cropping up all around down near you, but we had a whole bunch of them crop up throughout like the Toronto GTA area over the last 5-6 years, but it's like cafes, like board game cafes.
They tried. There were a few places that tried to do that, but they didn't succeed very well, and that's because of
took off here like crazy.
Florida, well, especially directly south of me, it's a pretty big pill popping area. Pretty degenerate, disgusting area.
Okay, so then you have a board game beer hall, right? Like that's, instead of a cafe, it's a bar, right? Like and those are here too, right? Like, this is what I'm saying is like the cafe. I think it was like Snakes and Lattes was like one of the first ones that popped up in Toronto, and it did so well that a bunch of other ones started opening up. And then the people who were like, oh well, I want to do that, but I don't want to be a coffee shop, they opened bars instead, right? So they're like a pub. Right, where it's like you go in and you can have pub food, so they have like greasy foods and beer, and then you can rent board games from them to play. Right,
that's totally fun.
Right, like it's a really cool idea. For me, with my LGS, I don't really want to mix greasy foods with board games. They generally don't go together very well. But I mean, that's
alcohol and board games.
Absolutely, right? Sure. So the whole concept behind our business plan was to have a large space that would have lots of play space and lots of ability to go and set things up. But instead, and then you have like a small wall of like product that you can sell as well, right? So like board games and magic cards and all that kind of stuff, right? And then you could just run tournaments and stuff. Or like, for instance, one of the things I wanted to have in the LGS, which is why we sort of never really got it off the ground, because we looked at a bunch of real estate opportunities and didn't find anything that really fit, was I wanted to have separate like conference rooms almost. Mm-hmm. That you could set up as like this is a D&D session or a Warhammer session room where you can close the door, and now you're in a room where you're not disturbed by all the other noise. Right. And the idea is it's like,
that'd be freaking awesome.
If you want the room for an hour, right, or 2 hours or whatever for your session, it's $5 an hour, right? And that's it, just for the whole room. Put as many people in the room as you want.
That would be really cool.
Right, like
and then you get the people pooling their money together to pay for it, because the way my LGS does it is, I mean, it's an open play area, but the players have to play $5 for a seat, or pay $5 for a seat to play, and the DM plays for free. And what's cool is my LGS does store credit, like, to 2 random people that are playing D&D. And the way they usually determine who wins it is they do a dice roll. Like, whoever gets the highest dice roll wins part of the credit, and whoever gets the lowest gets the other part of the credit. So
interesting. Okay.
So it's a nice way. So, there's been some nights where I'll be playing D&D. I only play $5, but depending on how many people are there, I'll get $20 in store credit. So
cool.
Not too bad. And I'll use that to buy Magic stuff or D&D stuff, and
yeah, for sure,
keeps me going there.
And this is exactly it. It's like you need to find ways to make people come back and stay, and tell their friends to come, because you want to have those incentive programs, right? And a lot of stores these days are going to the whole like incentive programs where it's like, when you buy things you get a return in store credit and all that kind of stuff, right? And that matters to a lot of people. Like, for instance, it matters to me. Like, I think, what was it, a month and a half ago, my LGS here in town, I went to them and I traded in a bunch of stuff so that I could basically have some money set aside in store credit at their store, so when Ikora comes out I can get more, right? That's basically the reason I did it. And nice. It's not ideal, right? It's not ideal to trade in your Magic cards at a store and stuff, but sometimes you have to do those kind of things.
And sometimes you need to get rid of it quickly too.
Yeah, exactly. But so then what happened is, I think I went in 2 weeks ago to pick up something. I went in to pick up some like sleeves and stuff for one of the decks I was building, and I was like, "Oh, just use some of my store credit that I have." Like I don't. I think I had like $700 in store credit or whatever. And they're like, "Oh, do you remember how much you had?" And I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Do you remember how much store credit you had?" And I'm like, I don't know the exact number, but it was something in this range. Oh, and I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, "Well, our hard drive crashed." And I was like,
"Oh no."
I was like, okay, what does that have to do with anything, right? Like, because in my IT brain, I'm like, yeah, so, like, you had that stuff on the cloud, right? Like, I mean, that's
no, of course they didn't.
literally, Google has the ability for you to just have a spreadsheet wherever you want it, and it's accessible from wherever you are, all right? Yeah. And I'm like, why? And they're like, well, yeah, because their store credit was literally just a spreadsheet in Excel,
of course,
with people's names and then the amount that they had in credit, right? So I'm like, well, why wouldn't you just have that on Google Docs? And they're like, oh, maybe we should do that. I'm like, yes. And so I think I lost some store credit, but they did give me back a fair chunk of what I had. I don't know how much. Like, I don't know if I lost anything. I have no idea, because like at this point I'm like, I traded those things into you over a month ago, and you didn't give me a receipt saying like, here's how much it was, right? So like, I just trusted you guys to keep track of it, and your hard drive crashed and you lost it all. It's a really bad client experience, right?
Yeah, that's hopefully they learned their lesson after that.
Well, like, the story the guys were telling me at the store was like, at least we're not this other store who has wiped their store credit 3 times by accident.
Oh,
and I went, first time accident, second time, okay, you need to have some sort of, like, the second time I'm angry now, right? Third time, I'm never coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
To your store. I'm just not coming back. Like, I don't care, right? And because like what they said too is like that store, like, it got wiped by accident, and they went, we're not restoring anyone's credit because we don't know
forget that. I would be out. I'd be like, nope, not coming back then.
I was like, how can you do that to your clients? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then they did it twice more, right? And like, by the third time, you got to go, okay, is this actually an accident still, or are you wiping it on purpose, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
It was just bad. Like, it's just bad practice. But anyway, these guys gave me my credit back. Without too much of like, there was no fighting at all. They were just like, yeah, I'll just put it back for you. And I was like, okay, fine. Now, whether they put back the right amount or not, I have no idea. But
yeah,
what can I do? But I think that like if I was in that situation as an LGS like owner or someone who worked at an LGS, if a customer came in that I know is one of my regulars,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Hey, can I use my store credit?" And you go, "Oh, well, it got wiped. We don't know how much you had." And they give me an idea of how much they had, and it sounds like a reasonable number based on the transactions that they've done. I would give them that plus $50. Do you know what I mean? Like I would just throw in the extra store credit because it's like a hassle.
Because it's your screw up, you know?
Yeah, like it wasn't my fault as a customer,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That it's gone, and you guys were supposed to keep track of it, and you guys took product from me that was worth money. Yeah, maybe you haven't moved it yet, but that was my okay. Then give me my cards back. Do you remember what you took from me? Because I don't. I don't remember what you took from me, right? Like I brought in my binder, and you guys picked through it and took what you wanted, right? Like.
Yeah, exactly. Are you planning on going to Magic Fest Vegas at all?
I want to. And the plan was to try and go this year. The budget stuff may not work out for me, unfortunately. Mainly because we had a few things in the house that needed some immediate attention that required more money than we were expecting. So.
That happened to me last year because I was planning on going to either Seattle or Vegas last year, and I had to cut down 2 trees in my yard, and they both cost almost $2,000 a piece.
$2,000 a piece?
Because they're right next to my house.
Holy moly.
And plus, I wanted to go with a company that was insured, too, because in case, they crashes on my house, hey, you're paying for it now. and then I had to pay for, and this is the lovely healthcare of America, I had to pay, I can't remember how much money for my daughter's knee surgery. Thankfully, my insurance paid, an extremely big chunk of it, but I still had to pay like $1,500 or something like that, and I'm just like, fuck. Well, there goes.
And you're talking to a Canadian here, so I have no information of how much a medical bill actually is.
I know. It's. Yeah. I think the whole surgery itself was like almost $30,000 or something like that, and if I didn't have insurance, it'd be like, oh, I gotta pay all that.
Yeah. It's like I guess I'll remortgage my house, right? Like,
I mean, I still. Even though paying the $1,500 sucked, but it was, had to do what I had to do.
$1,500 is that sucks, but at the same time, much better than $30,000.
Yeah,
right.
Which is yay American healthcare.
Yeah,
but that's the reason why I couldn't go last year. But this year, barring nothing happens, I'm gonna try to go to Vegas because my wife and we went to Vegas last year to celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary. Yeah. Yeah. And now we want to go again this year, but we want to go longer because we only had like 3.5 days last year. We're gonna go like a whole week. Like we'll probably fly there Monday or Tuesday. She and I will spend a couple days together. Then like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, she's just gonna let me go off to the GP while she goes and does her thing with her friends and all that because she has no interest in Magic. Unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I'm in the same boat. My partner is the same way. She has no interest at all in Magic at all.
Yeah. But all right, well, I hate to cut this short here. I unfortunately in about an hour I have to leave to go to work. So I wanted to get it done in the morning with us because it's either my project work is either going to go one of two ways. It's going to be 2 hours max, and that's it. Or I'll be there until the wee hours of the night. It's going to be one or the other. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know that feeling. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I wish you nothing but luck with your, your project release.
Thank you. So where can people find you should they want to reach out or find your channel and all that?
So it's pretty easy. Mr. Bevers is the handle I use everywhere. So Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, it's all the same. I think the only one that's different is my Twitter account is Mr._Bevers.
Yep.
Everything else is just Mr. Bevers. So like twitch.tv/Mr. Bevers, youtube.com/Mr. Bevers, like all one word. No spaces, nothing fancy. And then Twitter just has an underscore between the Mr. and the Bevers.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and just, talking and, talking about YouTube and IT and whatever else. Good luck if you ever do decide to try to open up an LGS and all that. And, thank you again for coming on.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was my pleasure.
All right. Well, have a good one.
You too.
Hey everybody, and I really hope you enjoyed that interview with Mr. Bevers. I do apologize going into a little bit about IT and computer stuff there. It's not very often I get to talk too much shop with someone like that outside of my own work. But I hope you overall enjoyed the interview, and be sure to check out Mr. Bevers' YouTube channel as well, and the links will be in the show notes below. And thank you all for watching and listening, and I hope you all have a great day.